When we speak of companies, companies are a very old concept. The first company was a state-owned company in the 17th century, owned by the Dutch government, the Dutch East India Company, which was used to help the Dutch government manage some of its territories in East Asia, so like Indonesia and the like. So the concept of companies is unique because for once it allows, in economics, it allows people to come together, at the same time limit their liability and be able to pool resources and limit liability. So the concept of companies is basically that the owner and the business are generally separate. They are standard requirements, and then there are those that are specific depending on what the company does. So there are industry-specific requirements. There are also requirements specific to non-profits vis-a-vis versus, or you could say versus, for-profit entities. However, the standard ones are one, you'd be required to obtain a tax identification number, both as a company and also the directors will be expected to have tax identification numbers. Then therefore, from that stems the duty to file returns. So returns can either be returns for employees, the company's employees, of which the directors can be employees. So that we refer to as pay-as-you-earn returns. Then we have returns for withholding taxes. If you have contractors that you pay, withhold taxes. We have final returns, so what we refer to as a provisional, interim, and final returns by the company to pay corporate taxes. VAT, returns, for value-added taxes, and also customs and duty taxes. All of those in terms of taxes. Then with the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, the company is expected to pay, to pay annually a fee that is 55,000 and file an annual report, basically showing who the directors are during the last 12-month period. If there's been any directors that have left or shareholders have left, that needs to be reported to the Registrar of Companies. If directors are out from the organization, okay, they've moved on, maybe not available, not interested, you can file a change of directors. If you can't get their signatures, it's possible to go through the court. So you file their documents, you file, and then you get a court order from a judge. It's not a long process. There's a plethora of options available to a business owner when you want to set up. Number one can be a sole proprietorship, which is where you just register a business name, and you are it's just one person owns the company, takes on the risks and also enjoys all the profits. So the company is not separate from the individual. That means in case of any issues like creditors, the person's personal assets like phones, land titles can be attached. Now that's different from companies also, so you can also register a company in Uganda. In Uganda you can register either a local company or a foreign company. I'm going to use the word register, but the technical word would be incorporate. So you can either incorporate or register. And the company can be for profit or non-profit. That's possible. The beauty about the company is that it can have limited liability, meaning that the owners and the business are separate. They're considered separate. So the company can own land in its own name. It can sue in its own name, separate from the owners. So in case the company went bankrupt, that does not affect the owners. But it's also possible to have a company with an unlimited liability. But most people don't say that up. That would happen in instances where, say, the people or the person that you want to, the client, dictates and says, would want you to have unlimited liability. Foreign companies are essentially regulated by the Uganda Investment Authority under the Investment Code Act and regulations. So those regulations designate types of investors. So a foreigner is considered an investor. So they are domestic, they are local investors. Those are Ugandans who set up entities and want to enjoy tax holidays and get preferential treatment from the government. Local investors are required to invest not less than $50,000. That's the minimum. But then, of course, if the company is owned by a local, then it's not a foreign company. So let's focus on the foreigners. Foreigners, the minimum threshold they need to invest is $250,000 US. They're also required to obtain an investment license from the Uganda Investment Authority. That is basically to ensure that the investment, it enhances or it's done within the National Development Plan. So we do have the Ministry of ICT. So that's the umbrella body that regulates these telecoms. However, they don't do it on their own. What the ministry has done is it has established departments, corporations, and agencies under it. So you have, for example, the National Information Technology Authority, NITA. So NITA issues licenses, to tech companies to allow you to operate. Then we also have the Uganda Communications Commission. So if it's anything to do with, if your technology has aspects of, say, voice over, it has like voice, data, or it's some infrastructure related technology where you have to build cables, so it all depends. So then you'd go to the Uganda Communications Commission. But then if it's just simply tech-based, then you're going to NITA, the National Information Technology Authority. Then the other thing is within that, we also have other specific, so now like fintechs, financial, technology companies, since they're dealing with money, they would have to go to the Bank of Uganda, which issues licenses under the National Payment Systems Act. So the likes of MTN, Uganda, Airtel, so Momo, just not MTN in general, but Momo. Momo is a company of its own, so MTN Mobile Money, it gets licenses from Bank of Uganda. Airtel Mobile Money also gets licenses from Bank of Uganda. So those are the major regulators. But of course, there are also not sub-regulators, but there are regulators that are not tech-based but would also be interested, like the Financial Intelligence Authority. They would be interested, especially for payment systems. They would like to know that there's no terrorism is being funded, there's no money laundering that's happening, within these tech systems. So you'll find that the government really generally works as a unit. But to answer your question specifically, those are the key regulators. So Starlink is essentially providing internet in a unique way, in the sense that they're going to use satellites instead of cable. So it's not fiber optic cable. Now, satellites is not a new phenomenon. We know that even here in Uganda, I think we've used satellites since even the Idi Amin regime. We had a big satellite station, if you remember. I think it still operates. But this time around, Elon's company, SpaceX, and the like, Starlink, are basically using low orbit satellites, meaning that these provide more consistent, they have better latency, they have the frequency is stronger. Because I know I'm not, of course, an engineer, but I know that previously Satellites, one of the challenges is that the satellites would be shot so far away, and the distance between the distance of the satellite and the recipient will be quite far. Now with these low orbit satellites which hang just outside the Earth, the company is able to cover nearly the entire world. That means also rural areas are going to get access to internet. Of course, I know the likes of MTN have been penetrating, but I think the coverage is going to be much, much wider. Now, from a legal perspective, when you introduce a new type of equipment, because Starlink's service comes with, you think you have to buy, there's an equipment that you have to buy to receive the signal, which you set up at home, and then you can start operating. I think that's a substantial cost that one has to incur, the initial cost. Then you pay the monthly subscription. So that equipment needs to be something. The legal term is type approved. So type approved means when you introduce a new equipment, the government needs to see that that equipment will not interrupt or interfere with existing equipment. So, for example, if I come with my equipment and it disorganizes the radio frequencies, and radios shut down in Kampala, we can't have Capital FM, we can't have, because they've been scrambled, I think the word is scrambled, then the government won't allow that. So the regulator for that is the UCC, Uganda Communications Commission. So you have to go through a process of type approval. The equipment is taken to a laboratory. I believe we're still using the one in Nairobi. So once it's passed and seen that the equipment is okay, then within like 21 days you get your approval. Then of course there'll be other licenses that one may be required to obtain. Everything stems from understanding, one's business. The first thing is you must have done your research. So you must at least have an idea of the short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. Why do I say this? Because knowing where you are now and where you want to be is important, because it informs what legal structure will be appropriate. So business name, you can get registered within 3 days. How? You propose 3 names. You get 3 names that you want your company to be called by in order of preference. So maybe I say ABC Enterprises Limited, or Moses Enterprise Limited. So in order of priority. Then you submit these to URSB. You make a payment of 35,000, and then once the name is reserved, name reservation means the name has been given to you. Then you file a form. There's a form which is the particulars of the business, right? Which has your name, the objectives of the business, the location of the business, your phone number, your email. You file that form. You pay. I believe that form is 55,000. You pay, and then you're ready to run. Then, of course, the other step would be to also get a TIN if you don't have a TIN. The TIN is a tax identification number from Uganda Revenue Authority. You apply for it, it's free. Apply for it, and then you'd also probably need a trading license, depending on what you're doing. You've got your trading license issued by the local authority where your business is located. So if you're located in Kabale, you will go to the Kabale District Local Government and get it from there. If you're registered in Moroto, you go, if it's Kampala, KCCA. My advice is, and of course, going back to business, look at business advice, is first ensure that you've proved your concept, meaning that you have repeat customers over a sustained period of time. It's even possible to, first start working at home, So register your business name, start working at home, get your trading license for your house, and start operating there. And then from that point, you then set up a company, because companies really, to wind up a company, wind up is to close a company, it's not cheap.